Welcome to Modern Homestead. I'm Jessica, and in today's video we are going to be assessing two areas of our food, our garden, and our food storage. Won't you join me? I'd like to kick things off by first thanking those of you who are part of the channel and have been for a long time. You come back time and time again to support us. And then we are also introducing ourselves to anyone that's finding us through this Every Bit Counts challenge. Let me introduce myself. Like I said, I'm Jessica. My husband and I and some of our children live here on this modern homestead in South Central Alaska, and that is what we share on the channel. Everything from our hunting and fishing adventures, our animals, our garden, our food storage, the building projects to build this homestead from the ground up, and we hope that you will choose to join us. It's been about 20 days since you and I began working on this harvesting, preserving, preparing projects together, and I thought today would be a good day to get out here. The weather is perfect, and assess what is going on and what has changed in the garden. Although at the very end we'll do a final where we ended up with the garden by the end of August, even though I won't have harvested things like the potatoes by then. The rest of it is getting pretty close. This garden will start to be buttoned up in the month of September. I was watching another garden channel today. They're like mid-October before their first frost. We have already had a morning get down to 39 degrees, so we are pushing hard right up against that first frost, and we want to assess where we're at so that we are not losing any of our hard work. Let's begin over here. Okay, pause. Future me is terribly unhappy with the footage that I took in the garden. I made myself a little bit dizzy trying to put together this video, and I thought, oh, because I shot it, I should leave it in here. Well, as I sit in this cold afternoon we have the pellet stove running, I'm editing the video for tomorrow that you will be getting, and I'm so unhappy. So I'm going to show you the overview of the garden and where it's at. I'm going to promise you that I'm going to figure out a better way of recording this. And third, I am then going to jump to a conversation where I say blah, 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 blah. This is where we're going into the video. And you're truly only going to get the second half of the video that I planned for you. I'm sorry about it, but I know I can do better, and will you allow me the opportunity to do that? One more thing before you jump to the footage of my long-term food storage, I want you to know that I really did share my heart in this video, and I enjoyed the second half enough that it is still being put out, and I'm proud of how it is. However, trust me, you don't want to watch the first half. And that's it for the update. I just wanted to see, I think the biggest assessment is pulling onions for sure. The collards, the kale need to be clear out. The celery has got to go. Any leftover cauliflower, broccolis, letting the broccoli go to seed because of what it's doing. The pumpkins and so on will have to go all the way until they just can't take it anymore until it gets entirely too cold for them. And then we'll bring them in. The cabbages store for a super long time. I just want to leave them out here until the very last minute in order to not have to store them, because fresh eating is our favorite. But I did see how you can kind of blanch and freeze it and fry it up with different things. So I may actually do that, because one of our favorite meals is something called kraut burgers, and that's cabbage and hamburger in a little homemade bun or kind of a yeast roll recipe. And so the greenhouses don't have anything to harvest in them, but at least they are putting on so much fruit. Fantastic. So again, I'll get you out here for the full tour at the end of the month in order to see exactly what we were able to do. Well, welcome to the area of our homestead that we lovingly call our long-term food storage. We don't actually call it a prepper's pantry. However, I know a lot of people would call it by that same name. I did promise to share this with you, and because tomorrow I am making a small trip to Costco, I thought I would take a moment and actually share it with you, and we would assess what needs. The last time you and I were in this long-term pantry together on the channel, it was part of a Costco haul video. And what is very misunderstood, and I would like to address that as you and I discuss it moving forward in doing the assessment, is some of the misunderstandings when it comes to a pantry like this. First of all, we don't have this food storage or this pantry because we are doomsday preppers or afraid of anything. We're not actually living in fear. We have lived long enough and been through enough things personally that having food storage is very, very important to us. And in fact, in the middle of the recording of the last time I had you down here, my husband had been laid off, and we didn't have, he is our sole source of income. We didn't have an income coming into the home, and yet we still made this pantry a priority, and I would like to touch on why. When you lose your sole source of income, it can be a very panicked moment. We didn't feel that way for two reasons. Number one, Aaron and I diligently work on having savings, money put away in savings for a rainy day, an emergency, a job loss, someone's injured, something happens. Emergencies seem to always happen, and so we might as well have some money stored away for that. The other reason is that when you're being forced to choose between buying food, which is a very real situation people are facing today that may even be watching this video, when you're having to choose between feeding your family and paying your mortgage, the food need is always greater in the moment. The hungry bellies, the crying kids, all of that always wins out as opposed to paying some of those vital bills. So when we bought this property and began this channel, one of the first things I shared was starting this food storage journey. We had either sold or used all of our food preps down in the lower 48 instead of trying to move that weight and those sort of things up here. And so because you and I, this channel, we worked so diligently on building this out that although we had the stress of no incomes coming in, we didn't have the stress of deciding between a hungry belly and our mortgage. And that is why I am so passionate about teaching this on this channel. One of the funniest assumptions is because you see a box here, this one as an example, says odd beans. It is not all odd beans anymore. Many of these are actually partially empty. And just because you see a storage container given space to it, such as the tea is now empty, the spices, I am almost completely out of backup spices that go into the spice jars upstairs, and I have to order those at least once or twice a year from Azure in order to stay on top of what you saw in our upstairs. But just because there's a box doesn't mean it's full. I don't know why that was such a controversy. And then the other thing is when people see your food storages, they say stuff like, no one needs that amount of food. Well, it's up to you to decide how much food you want to store and have stocked away for that rainy day in your home. That literally is your choice to make. And I hope that you take the time to assess who it is that's in your home that you're preparing for. And in the event of an emergency, loss of job, any of life's trials and tribulations, who would you help? I just got a beautiful message from one of my longtime subscribers. Their food pantry is being drained because they have a child that needed their help, a grown child, but that child needed help and the parents aren't hesitating to do that. We're those sort of parents. So all of my food stocks are actually for 9 full-grown adults. So as you sing along here and you see what we're doing, we have everything from beans and rice, and we do lots of color. Believe it or not, the long grain white rice, I'm gonna have to buy that by the end of the year because we use so much of it, and it is such a fantastic part of everyday meals, if you will, that I will have to restock that. And even though I stock things in a way that will last 30 years, I don't have 30 years worth of food down here. Believe it or not, we hammered on this food storage pretty stinking hard. 5 months, 5.5 months, no job, 6 months, no income. And when Aaron did get that job, it was gone. The savings was gone. Our pantry had been hammered, and we are still rebuilding that. And I am so grateful that we had spent the money, the time, and the effort to actually build this out before that ever happened. Right over here you see the things that actually go into the 2-gallon buckets that we showed in the pantry that is upstairs. These things are flours, they are grains, they are sugars, salts. That is another 5-gallon bucket of the apple cider vinegar. We have like a 5-gallon bucket of honey over here, and then these are the more perishable things. So the understanding of why would I store things for 30 years? The goal isn't to store things for 30 years. I don't know why that's misunderstood, so I'll try and explain it. I store things in a way that they have the longest shelf life. So if I can store rice and beans in a way that would last 30 years, then a year from now, they will be the most fresh that they could be in comparison to other storage. When you just throw things in 5-gallon buckets, they do have a long shelf life like that. But anything that I can package up in, let me show you, something like these Mylar bags, well, these are brown lentils from 2024. So this is a brand new package from this year. If I store it this way, I have a 30-year shelf life, which means in the next year when I open this package of brown lentils, it will be the freshest that it could possibly be. The second reason to store something in a way that will last the longest possible time is you aren't fighting the bugs, the mold, the mildew, all of the different things that could spoil your food storage, the same as you would even in these 5-gallon buckets. Now I do put Gamma Seal lids on my 5-gallon buckets. I do line all of the buckets, and I do try, we need another shelf, that's part of the goal, to get everything off of the concrete floor. However, it is what it is right now. But these then stored in the totes have a longer shelf life than the stuff that's in the 5-gallon bucket. So the goal is not to actually eat this food 30 years from now. The goal is to have it as fresh as possible when we do. Hi, we're having my husband and dog just came in down here. He is really good at helping me. That is some of the comments that we get. He totally supports this. And when you look back and you may have those questions of why we would fill this out, well, he knows his wife so well that he knows when things are stressful, if I know I can feed my family, I have a sense of peace about me that just sort of rests on my shoulders, knowing that everyone is going to be fine. And he is such a great man that not only does he help, not only does he appreciate, he totally agrees with living this life. This is actually the area that we are here to assess today, and we are out of store-bought refried beans. Not only are we out of those, we're also out of our home canned beans. And what I like to do is use these kind of as backup, and there is an entire empty row, as well as some of the soups that we can't get here in Alaska. I don't know why. I do keep all of this on hand and stocked up, even though it's not homegrown. This may be what your pantry looks like. If you live in a way that you don't have the ability to stock and store food that you've home canned and home preserved and home grew and all of that, you shouldn't be discouraged in this challenge. I know I've watched enough of Jessica. I've followed her long enough. I know that the Three Rivers Challenge and Jessica from Three Rivers, she is not attempting to discourage anyone from doing store-bought if that is what you can do. What we're passionate about is convincing and getting others to store up food, to stock up the food, so that when the rainy day does come, you have everything that you need, and you too can have a little bit of peace resting on your shoulders. When hard times come, you know you can feed your family. Guess what's in this box? I like to buy one at a time of these white rolling can storages, and I wanted one for the store-bought fruit to start filling this rack out with the rotating storage. The reason I like this so much is the freshest goes in the top and the oldest comes out the bottom. And having these has made my life super simple. If you're interested, I'll put an Amazon link to that in the description box of where and what these white storage thingies are. They also make my life super simple. So when we come in here and we look at, say, the canned pumpkin, I know that I need 3 cans of canned pumpkin in order to be fully stocked on canned pumpkin. That won't happen in this trip. I'm not making an additional, like my big storage stock. We just can't afford to redo everything yet. We're having to do it in smaller bits and pieces. You'll have to forgive all the additional noise down here in the basement. It's uninsulated above me and unfinished, and then the humming or buzzing noise, if you happen to be picking that up, is the freeze dryers down here. So I do have that stuff. Here we go. Chicken. So I do make my own home chicken broth from our homegrown chickens. I make a lot of these things from scratch, but I also store the canned store-bought ones. 2 reasons. Number 1, it's super nice to grab. It's super great to take along, and the glass doesn't break on the road. We had a couple of jars break this summer of things that we took fishing. The other thing is, if I had a friend, a child, someone in need, I don't love giving away my canning jars. They're expensive, and my favorite ones are often hard to come by up here, and the price has done nothing but go up, up, up on them, so I don't like to give them away. I would much rather have this fully stocked and give someone canned milk, broth, all the different things from here. The other things are, I don't grow or preserve enough tomatoes that I don't have to buy tomatoes, along with several other things. We don't grow coconuts, so I obviously buy canned coconut. Our cow, our dairy cow, Peaches, has never had a baby, so I obviously am not milking her yet, so we don't have or produce our own milk on the homestead. Many of the other items that we stock and store, this is what I wanted to see. Chipotles, we do have some olives. Like, okay, someone I think gave this to me, and I haven't gotten rid of it because it's not, well, it's just now expired, but it is dented. Maybe I should get rid of it. Anyway, I pickle my own beets. However, that came from before I had the opportunity to pickle them. We don't grow corn in Alaska. It's always fantastic to watch people struggle to do it, and I'm waiting for someone to actually accomplish it so I can imitate them. I've never grown enough peas to store, or green beans, black beans, pintos, kidney beans. These are all sorts of white beans, from chickpeas and so on down the line. As far as that goes, garbanzo beans, and then different soups. I do like and prefer the mushroom soup mix from Azure. However, good old Campbell's soup is great, and I don't grow enough mushrooms where I could even can my own cream of mushroom soup. The other kinds that we keep is something bean and bacon. That is one in our family. I try and get them with these, like the pop lids. And the reason I do that is so that we can take them with us. And we do. I wouldn't eat the cream of mushroom soup like that. But the other one we have is tomato soup. I don't grow enough tomatoes that I can a year's worth of tomato soup. Chicken noodle I can definitely make. And then the split pea is the one soup that we cannot get up here in Alaska. So with all of that said, that's kind of a little run through of the different things. Oh, I'll take you right over here. We don't fish for tuna. So I have some tuna there. And then the Kirkland chicken breast, those last for years. I hate Spam, but my kids love it. And they actually work their way through that like crazy. Something else, so these are fantastic. I love these for chilies and different things. But these are much bigger cans. And then it should go there. So what we have here is the canned fruit. We do not have access to enough fruit up here that I could can all the fruit that my children are going to eat. So what I like to do is go to Walmart, buy the no sugar or lowest sugar possible. If I can afford the organic, I do. If I can't, I just don't worry about it. For whatever reason, Caleb and Wyatt and all of them love these, but I also put them in their emergency kits so that if they had an emergency, they could pop this open. If they are hungry, it's high in like sugars and different things like that, just natural sugars, and then you can drink the juice and you can eat it hot or cold. It really doesn't matter. So I like to put those in the car, and so I just save up some canned fruit. So these are something that I would like to have the whole rolling system for, and then right on top of the rolling system is backup. I honestly think it's strange to see it, just the 3 rows, and it'll hold 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So it'll hold 3 of those kits, so I need 2 more to fill that out. But it's amazing how that kind of changes it. But then when I look at these bottom rows down here where we have 1 ketchup, couple of ranches, those sort of things. I would love to be able to make all of that from scratch, and that's something that we'd really like to work on around here. But just cleaning and organizing, working through the pantry, figuring out what we need, because I have a personal goal at the end of this month to have everything tallied. So as we add, I'm not keeping a tally. I want at the very end of the month to see where the garden ended up and to know exactly where our food storage is, from upstairs to down and everywhere. I have a couple of things that need to be moved into. You can hear me? Oh, my husband and I started talking to the camera, and Aaron goes, I can hear you, what? Like, I'm talking to the camera. Anyway, I have a couple of things that need to be moved into Mylar. When we did the last big haul, we grabbed a couple of things that we are out of, and then these things need to be bagged up. They are the different kinds, let's see. The Atazuku beans. So they're just some beans mostly, and then some black chia seeds and some flax seeds, and pretty much we're all caught up on space, moving things around, and yeah, it works really well. So I do thank you for hanging out in my garden and my food storage area with me, and just allowing me a minute to organize, gather my thoughts, and figure out exactly what I need to do moving forward. I hope you enjoyed today's video, even though we didn't actually do much but organize it, and I encourage you to actually get into your food storage area. Hopefully you were inspired by today's video to go into that pantry, take a good tally, take a good assessment, and see what you need, some holes, some gaps for the rest of the month, and maybe feel inspired. Check expiration dates, see how long you've had things in there, reorganize it to where it makes sense, maybe build it as meals or put the fruits and vegetables, but seriously spend just a minute. I think when we spend this amount of time and effort and money in an investment such as a food storage area, it's so important to stay on top of it. So that's my encouragement for you, and I hope that you feel encouraged from it. With that, thanks for joining us today. I hope that you felt inspired to hit that subscribe button if you haven't yet, and then ring the bell. You'll get notifications, all of those different things. But I also hope that you are blessed. I hope that you are able to look in that pantry and feel some form of thankfulness and gratitude, and just be grateful for what it is that you have today. I know that I certainly have had a gamut of emotions down here of the things that we're running out of that I simply cannot afford to replace right now. However, you know, I'm so grateful for this pantry, the fact that I had it, and the fact that it carried us through, and it would have done it for even longer, and it still has a little road ahead of it as we work on things. So I know that I certainly found gratitude in this space today. So with that, be blessed. I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.